Welcome to today's version of Convertible Conversations. So glad that you took the opportunity to spend a few minutes with me. I want to ask you today, what do you think about with God in regard to what He requires, what He demands, what He has to get from you? I grew up thinking that God required and demanded a lot, and I could never live up to it. I tried real hard, but I could just never seem to do enough or give enough or be good enough. Or I thought God was just so demanding and His demands were really unreasonable. I hope you didn't grow up thinking that, but I did, and I know a lot of people have. I just always thought there was so much more that He wanted for me that I just couldn't do, no matter how hard I tried. And you know what? When I found out the truth, I just had to laugh. And I continually laugh thinking about what the truth is. There is much more involved when it comes to God, but it's not the much more that we think. Whatever God requires from you, He provides much more than you possibly need to do what He requires. Whatever God requires, He provides. Just for example, love, the greatest commandment of all. Love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. Well, who can do that? I mean, I have trouble loving myself, loving my wife, my kids, my friends, let alone love God. Who can do that? Nobody. It's impossible to do. Nobody can do that in our own power. However, God supplies much more love to us than we ever need for ourselves, for anybody else, or for Him. He is love. He lives in us, and because He loves, we can love. He actually provides more love than we need for ourselves or for anybody else. If that sounds like craziness to you, that means you haven't experienced that yet. He requires joy and peace and patience and goodness and gentleness and kindness. Those are all things that God requires of us, not in a way that you'd better do this or I'm going to get you, but He requires it in a sense that that's what He wants for us to have, because that's when things go best for us and best for other people. It's not that we have to prove to Him that we can be good or that we can live up to some standard or something like that. Not at all. What God asks of us, what He requires of us, He already provides in advance way more than we could possibly ever need or use. If you need patience, you find yourself lacking patience and getting impatient, like I do sometimes. What happens, though, is when I go to God, who lives in me, and I say, Jesus, I'm not being very patient here, and I don't want something bad to happen for me or somebody else. Would you be patient in this situation as me, through me, in me, with this other person, with what's going on? And when I just stop and ask Him to do that, and then get out of the way, relax, rest, and let Him do it, I find Him being way more patient, much more patient, than I ever thought was possible, than I ever thought anybody could do. Same thing goes with anything, being kind, being faithful. God requires faith of us. Requires it in a sense that when we are faithful, when we have faith, things go much better for us and for other people. So, what God requires, He provides. He provided in advance the faith of Jesus Christ for you and me. There's only one faith, and we have it. You have all the faith that's necessary to do anything that God ever calls you to do or wants you to do, for everything to go right and go well in your lives and in the lives of the people around you. You have much more faith than you could ever imagine you would ever need. So I hope you'll join me on this journey of getting to know God, listening to Him, and learning what He's already given you, what He's already provided you. What are the riches of the treasures of heaven that He's already provided in advance for you? And then we just supply ourselves from those things that He already has and let Him live life in us and as us and through us, particularly as us. And we find out, wow, this is much more, much better than I ever even imagined. I hope you'll join me in doing this. See you next time.